Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for Fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today I have for you what I believe to be the single most useful video you will watch all pre-season. Certainly this has been the most useful video to me when I've been doing the research and the data collation for this video. But basically guys, I've got 100 FPL experts and what we're going to do is we're going to analyze the data from their teams to help us make key decisions when it comes to what players to choose, what formation, what captains, who should we choose out of the premium forwards, which premium should we pick. All other key decisions that we need to make are all going to be in this video, guys. It's taken a very long time to collate the data for this video, about 6 hours just to write down that data in a spreadsheet before I even started making the graphics. So if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, it would be really appreciated, and please do subscribe if you're new around here. There will be a part 2 to this video where we will be building the perfect expert team based on the data in this video, so stay tuned for part 2, but for now let's have a look at part 1. So first of all, a quick shout out to the 100 FPL experts, pundits and content creators that offered their data basically for this video that we could use their teams to analyze for the video. There's lots of people in here. There are other YouTubers, TikTokers, bloggers, podcasters, a lot of people with really strong rank histories. There's so many people in here who finished in the top 1,000 last year or the top 10,000. There are just a lot of really good managers in here. So if you see these names around, make sure you go drop them a follow and go check them out because they're definitely all worth following for sure. Okay, the first thing I want to do is show you the most popular players among the 100. So there were 99 different players in total selected in the 100 teams. These are the 60 most popular ones. So you can see some players have extremely high ownership. Trent, Jesus, Salah, Andreas Pereira, all above 90% ownership. And as soon as we see these kind of trends, these players that are super high ownership among our experts, it kind of makes me think, okay, these players are essential. And you guys are probably not going to be too surprised to see the likes of Trent, Jesus, Salah and Andreas as being the essential players that pretty much every expert is going for. If you haven't got these players, maybe you do need to be a little bit worried because they just seem to be so crucial and there's such a strong trend towards picking these players. We're going to go position by position here, but I just wanted to show you the 60 most popular players in general. Feel free to take a note of that. A quick look at some of the other players in the top 10. We've also got Cancelo at 85%, so maybe he's verging on being essential as well. Kane is up there, Robertson is up there, Martinelli for his excellent value, as with Neto and Bailey. So these kind of players at the bottom, Martinelli, Neto and Bailey, we know already that these players are super high value for money, so no surprise that they're pretty popular among experts. So I would probably say, as long as you've got the top 4 in this list, and maybe at least one of the bottom 3, you know, 8 to 10, maybe 2 out of 3 of those would be a good idea perhaps, and then you've got some other players there that are super crucial as well. But yeah, like I say, let's go position by position and analyze it that way. Alright, so goalkeepers was probably the position where there was the least amount of trend, I suppose. I mean, a lot of the positions we see 1 or 2 players with 80 or 90% ownership among experts. On the goalkeepers, there's no one really anywhere near that. The most popular goalkeeper among experts right now seems to be Ramsdale. 36 out of 100, that's 36% going for Ramsdale, and he is kind of out there as the most popular. Aside from that, it's a lot more spread. Edison very popular, Sanchez as well, and Raya all very popular, but not like, there's no clear winner out of those guys. There's also Mendy, Melier on there as well, and then going down slightly further down the list, a few people picking Pope, 1 person on Pickford, and just 1 person on Emi Martinez as well. So it's difficult for me to say to you which goalkeeper should you go for. If we're talking in terms of price points, I guess we can look at it a little bit better like that way. If you want a 5 million goalkeeper, Ramsdale is probably the one to go for. If you want a 5.5 million goalkeeper, Edison is the one to go for. For a 4.5, it seems to be split between Sanchez and Raya pretty evenly. So if you want a 4.5, it's a little bit more difficult for me to recommend to you based on this data. Maybe we go for Sanchez just because he's got that 1% more. But yeah, in general, those are kind of what you've probably got to deal with. You've got to choose your price point of your goalkeeper and then maybe make a decision based on this information after you've chosen your price point. For defenders, no surprise to see that Trent is by far at the top. He is the most popular player among experts. Only 1 of our experts didn't pick Trent in their team. So when we've got a trend that says 99% out of 100, that is just so crazy high that you may as well just pick Trent. This is such a strong trend that if you haven't got Trent, it's probably not a great idea. Similar thing you could say about Cancelo, although there is a little bit of reason to not go for Cancelo as long as you are covered with that Man City defence. But there are some other popular defenders here. Robertson, Reece James and Perisic. No surprise to see that the premium defenders are topping the list here. And when we get to those slightly cheaper players, you know, Trippier, Walker, Zinchenko, those are all 5 million defenders, aren't they? As is Gabriel at 10th. There's a little bit more rotation there, a little bit more flexibility. So as long as you've got your premium players in place, after that, I think there is a little bit of freedom to kind of pick your favourite horse, I suppose. There's also Diaz in there, which is, I guess, kind of interesting. If you don't want Cancelo, but you do want to cover that Man City defence, maybe he's worth going for. And just one 4.5 million defender that makes the top 11, that makes the over 5% pick rate among our experts, and that is Dalot. So if you want a 4.5 million defender, Dalot seems to be the popular choice. I think Dunk was, you know, around 4% as well, 3 or 4% as well. So maybe Dunk is worth considering as a 4.5, but Dalot seems to be the favourite. But it seems to be all about those premiums. So get those premiums in, and after that, maybe after that, you have a little bit of flexibility to choose who you kind of fancy. Okay, midfielders, another one where there's no surprise to see Salah at the top, 95 out of 100. So a few people, in fairness, are going without Salah this season, which, I don't know, it's kind of interesting, but it's still a very strong trend towards saying that Salah should be in your team. You know, based on this, a 95% out of 100, it's difficult for me to say anything other than get Salah. You know, if 95% of experts have him, probably a good idea to have him, right? But we've got Martinelli here in second, which is something I'm not sure I did expect, to be honest. I thought we might see a few more people with Saka maybe instead of Martinelli, but Martinelli way up there, 65%. That's almost 2/3 of experts going for Martinelli. Again, you can't be totally surprised. He's such good value for money, and you can say the same thing about Neto. Bailey at 52%. That is huge, you know, because Bailey, I think his ownership is only about 10%. So Bailey is clearly a player that experts have their eye on, that maybe the slightly more casual players don't really know about as much. And then after that, we've got some other various players, Saka, Luis Diaz, Mount, Rashford, Kulusevski, and Son at the bottom there as well, among players with over 5% pick rate. You'll notice that there's no De Bruyne over 5% pick rate, so no De Bruyne in this list, so not very popular with our experts. And also Sancho didn't pass the 5% or more threshold, so they are still viable picks, I think, but they're just not very popular among experts. So yeah, a surprisingly narrow set of popular midfielders, considering most of you guys are going to be on 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 midfielders. There's not too many to choose from in terms of the popular picks. So what I would probably say is, you know, go for Salah, obviously. Pick at least 2 out of 3 out of Martinelli, Neto and Bailey. And then after that, maybe go for an 8 million midfielder. The most popular 8 million midfielder is Saka, followed by Luis Diaz, followed by Mount. And then slightly lower down, we see Kulusevski as a reasonably popular 8 million midfielder as well. So there are some options there. Flexibility seems to be mostly based around that 8 million price point. So get your premium, get a couple of cheapies in there, and then mess around a little bit, have some fun with your 8 millions, because there seems to be a lot of different people going different ways in terms of those 8 million midfielders. Forwards now, and we have got Gabriel Jesus at the top, 97%. That's pretty crazy. We know he's super popular among the overall FPL player base, but he's even more popular among experts. So that is pretty high. It's pretty much one of those situations where he's so high, you've got to say Jesus is essentially essential. So yeah, maybe Jesus has to go in your team. After that, we've got Kane, and way below that is Haaland. So Kane at 70%, Haaland at 28%. After that, it's pretty much a graveyard in terms of forwards. So yeah, you can see here very clearly that aside from a few people going for Darwin, 2 people going for Wilson, there's just a couple other people. And this, by the way, guys, is all of the forwards that were selected. Like, aside from bench forwards, this is all of the forwards that were selected. So there's a few on 1, but we're mostly just focusing on 3 forwards: Jesus, Kane and Haaland. And after that, maybe Darwin, but you know, there's not really much options, I think, at forward. I think that's why there's such a strong trend towards the top ones there. I don't know, guys. If you're going for 2 forwards, then it seems pretty obvious to me which 2 you're going to go for, but we'll perhaps talk about that a little bit more later on in the video. Okay, as for our bench players, these are kind of the bottom level, the cheapest possible players in their respective position. There are some trends here. So among goalkeepers, Ward is way out on top. We're expecting him to be the first choice goalkeeper for Leicester going into the new season after Schmeichel leaves, which is really interesting. I did start gathering this data a couple of days ago, so maybe some of it may be, just a couple of days out of date when it comes to specific issues such as Schmeichel leaving Leicester. Maybe some of our experts haven't quite caught on to the fact that Ward is the best 4 million goalkeeper. I imagine if I was to recollect this information at this exact moment, Ward would be sitting more like 60-70%. So seems to me to be the clear best 4 million goalkeeper. Out defenders, Nico Williams, no surprise, he is the top pick there at 50% ownership. So about half of our experts have Nico Williams in their teams. And Patterson as well is an interesting one. The 4 million defender from Everton, he's expected to start the season and he's in 13% of teams, which is quite nice. Andreas Pereira in midfielders, wow, 92 out of 100. I mean, we knew that Andreas Pereira was the best 4.5 million midfielder by a while, but yeah, that is a pretty significant amount of people going for him. So yeah, bordering on essential. If you've got a bench midfielder, I guess, then it probably should be Andreas Pereira. But there is a small shout out for De Silva, who's done quite well in pre-season. He has historically been a big part of Brentford's success. He just was injured, unfortunately, last season, which is why he didn't get much game time last season. But he's fit now, playing well in pre-season. Is he going to start the season starting for Brentford? Very, very possibly. So he is an option as well, but a little bit of a hipster option, I suppose, compared to Andreas. And among forwards, we all know that there is not too many forwards that are going to score you many points in FPL in the 4.5 bracket. But Archer has come out on top. So very positive comments coming from Aston Villa and coming from Gerrard about Archer. He is going to stay with the team. He's not going to go out on loan, and he's going to be competing to actually get some game time in the Premier League. So positives to be taken there. He's also super low ownership in the overall FPL populace. So if a lot of people sell him, it's not going to make that much of an impact where he drops in price. Greenwood, on the other hand, yes, he has slightly higher points potential than Archer, but if he's just going to be stuck third on your bench, you may as well go for someone lower ownership who is less likely to drop down in price, because we all kind of know at this point that Greenwood, in a few weeks' time, Greenwood is going to be at 4.4 million. So it depends how much you value those points on your bench that you could possibly get, but bench points don't really count towards your actual scores, do they? We also got Plange and Lyle Taylor there as well. Kind of a few people going for them as well. But, 4.5 forwards, pretty much a dead spot. Third on your bench, not really, doesn't really matter too much. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would prefer to go for a low ownership player, and the Archer and Plange situation kind of suggests that that is the case among experts as well. Alright, let's just have a look at some players that are not as popular as you guys probably thought. So we're talking about players here that are over 10% owned among the overall FPL player base and are under 5% owned by experts. So we can see here, for example, 20% of people in the overall player base are going for Matty Cash, but only 4% are among our experts are going for him. So although he's really popular among most people, actually, our experts don't fancy these players quite as much. I want to pay special attention to those on 0%. So Alisson, for example, 19.5% selected by the general FPL players, and yet none of our 100 experts picked Alisson. Similarly with Coutinho, and this is an interesting one because Coutinho and the midfielders in general, so Coutinho, Bruno Guimaraes and Odegaard there, all midfielders, you get to select 5 midfielders in your FPL team. So 5 times 100 experts equals 500 midfielders, and none of them chose to go for Coutinho, Bruno Guimaraes or Odegaard. Now that kind of says quite a lot. 500 midfielders and none of them were these certain players. That to me tells me that although a lot of you guys probably think they're a good pick, the experts firmly disagree with you, and I think that 0% is enough to take away to say, yeah, they're probably not the best picks. Same with kind of Van Dijk. So many defenders available to select, yet no one's going for Van Dijk. So definitely something of note there, and you can basically scan around the rest of those really popular players overall, but low ownership among our experts. But I think this is actually a really, really key graphic to kind of suggest to you that maybe a player that you thought might be good, the experts disagree with you, and who are we to argue against the experts? I mean, this is data at the end of the day, isn't it? Okay, time for popular formations. I don't think this is too much of an interesting question, but I know a lot of you guys are really have been asking me a lot, what formation is the best one? Well, there seems to be two that are by far the most popular, and the rest are just kind of hardly used at all. 4-4-2, over half of our experts are going for the 4-4-2 formation, and 5-3-2, over a quarter of our experts are going for the 5-3-2 formation. All of the other ones are pretty much mudded. No one's really using them at all. So yeah, if you want to ask me what formation should I go for, then the answer for, well, if I was to answer it, I would say, well, whatever formation contains the players that you like the most. But in terms of what is popular among experts, it's 4-4-2 or 5-3-2. Now guys, this is actually the graphic I am most proud of among all of my preseason graphics, and that is this key decisions graphic, which kind of visualizes among experts some of those key decisions that we're all trying to make. Now, you guys probably thought a lot of these key decisions would be far more even, and yet we are seeing some really strong trends here among experts, which is just amazing data. This is really phenomenal data. So for example, premium forwards, 70% are going for Kane as their premium forward, 28% are going for Haaland as their premium forward, and 2% are going for no premium forward. So yeah, this is done on average, of course, among our data, but that is probably individually surprising to you guys because Haaland is way higher owned than Kane in the overall player base, right? And yet our experts very strongly prefer to go for Kane. In terms of our third Liverpool player, Robertson is the most popular player by a long way among experts, and yet Robertson versus Diaz is far more popular. I think even Darwin Nunez is more popular than Robertson among the overall player base. So again, we're seeing a real contrast between expert data and the overall player base data, which kind of may allow us to get the edge over the overall player base, right? You know, overall player base probably don't know quite as much about FPL as our experts. If we can get one over on them by going for a Kane instead of Haaland, by going for a Robertson instead of a Diaz and Darwin, then maybe we can take ourselves to the next level. Similarly, Salah versus no Salah, 95% on Salah, 5% on no Salah. I think it's about 50-50 or maybe 55-45 among the overall player base. In terms of Chelsea defenders, it's pretty much half and half in terms of whether you should go for a Chelsea defender or not. But the key bit of information here is if you are going to go for a Chelsea defender, it should be Reece James. Chilwell is also there on 3%, which is very little, but a few of you guys have asked me about all kind of other Chelsea defenders, Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, etc. In terms of defenders and not goalkeepers, so excluding Mendy, no other Chelsea defenders were chosen among our experts. It is James, a little bit of Chilwell, or no Chelsea defender whatsoever. Rotating goalkeepers is an interesting one because a lot of people say, you know, shall we have two goalkeepers and play one in certain matches and the other in other matches and just rotate them depending on the game week, depending on who has the better fixture. This used to be a very popular tactic in FPL, but as each season goes by, the tactic gets less and less popular because it's kind of proven over and over again that it doesn't really work very well. So just 3% of our experts are using rotating goalkeepers and 97% are not. Again, a very clear trend that says to me we should not be going for rotating goalkeepers. Just pick one, one goalkeeper who you're going to play, and then one 4 million goalkeeper who you're not going to play, pretty much. And then for number of premiums, now this one is way stronger than I thought. This trend is way stronger. I know so many people who are going for, 3 premiums in their FPL teams in terms of, friends and, some of you guys when I've seen some of your guys' team. But among our experts, 96% are going for the 2 premium strategy. Only 2% are going for 1 premium. Only 2% are going for 3. Everyone else is going for 2 premiums, which is just crazy. That is such a high percentage. In fact, it is more likely that an expert will go for a team with no Salah in it than to go for a team with 1 premium or 3 premiums in it, which is quite wild. So for those of you guys asking, is a 3-mium viable? Is a 1-mium team viable? The experts say, no, it is not. Go for 2 premium players in your team. No more, no less. Anything outside of that is just really out there. Really quite a strange kind of tactic among experts anyway. So yeah, that to me is a very interesting graphic that really helps us make some key decisions there. And let's finish off with some captains. In game week 1, the captains are split 4 ways. Only 4 different players were selected as the captain for game week 1 among our experts. Salah, no surprise to see him up ahead with 88%, 88 out of 100. So yeah, Salah, if you are kind of wondering who should I captain, the answer is probably Salah. But that's not to say that there aren't, warrant for a little bit of conversation about some of the other players. So Kane on 8, Son on 3. I think going for a Spurs player against Southampton is not the worst idea in the world either. I think you can, it could pay off. It could work out, even though it's not quite as popular as a strategy as Salah. But it could work out. And then finally, just one person going for Gabriel Jesus against Crystal Palace. They did admit to me when they were telling me about their team that they are an Arsenal fan and they are aware of Jesus' high ownership and thought this might be an opportunity to get ahead of the people who have selected Jesus already. I don't know. I'm not sure I completely agree with that. But again, this is not about me. This is about what experts are saying about FPL, and who am I to argue with that? So yeah, in terms of your captain, Salah seems to be the obvious one. If not, maybe go for a Spurs premium player. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please do leave a like. I cannot express how much effort went into making this video. I was up until about 3:30, 4 a.m. last night, just trying to put all of the data together and just jot down all of the data into a spreadsheet. It took forever, and obviously the graphics and stuff as well, and trying to put it into a presentable kind of situation, I suppose. Please do subscribe as well. We've got part 2 coming probably tomorrow. That's going to use all of this data to create the perfect FPL team according to experts, which I'm sure you are going to enjoy. But aside from that, guys, we're probably going to do a stream later on today because I'm running out of time, as I always am. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a good one. To me, this was the best video I've done so far this pre-season, or at least the most useful one. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.